Hello and welcome, my friends. This is Pastor Butch Paul. This is the 17th day of February, the year 2010. Welcome to the broadcast tonight. We have another powerful lineup tonight. Tonight's one of my most favorite guests of all time. Actually, two of them, but Bob Chapman will be with us in a minute. I've had him on for years. One of the most, he is the most informed person I've ever talked to on economics and situations in this country and around the world. One of my favorite guests of all time, like I said, his interviews are always informative and almost always right on the money. My soul. All righty, folks, we are back, and we are so excited tonight to have with us, as we do every month, Bob Chapman. In a few minutes, we're joined by Ted Anderson with Midas Resources. Bob Chapman is a man that, if I could, I'd like to buy him the biggest steak I could find, because he literally helped me save my house, folks. If he hadn't taught me what to do about the gold and silver and how to prepare for what's coming, get out of debt, with the earnings I get now because of the loss of sales on my job, I would have lost my house. I wouldn't be able to make a payment for the last year. So I owe my house to Bob Chapman as far as him helping me understand the urgency of getting out of debt. And Bob Chapman, welcome to the program. I appreciate you more than I can say, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, and it's very nice to be here again, and I'll be stopping down to stay with you for about 3 or 4 months.
Well, come on in, buddy. We'll take care of you. It's kind of cold up here now, but come on. You know, we pick up new stations all the time. We just started a new station in California Monday night, KCAA, 1050 AM in Loma Linda. So I always like to tell the folks a little about you and what you did for me starting several years ago, a long time ago, actually. I started listening to what you were saying and started working in that direction. Bob, my earnings has dropped in the last year probably by 30%. I couldn't have made a house payment if I was still owed for this home. And I say that I'm not embarrassed to say it on radio, because I still work hard. I'm not a lazy person. But the economy I don't care what the news says, the economy still is not doing well. But you really helped me understand the importance of getting out of debt and being reasonable and purchasing things that are needed, including some gold and silver. And I did that and paid the house off. So I want folks to know that the International Forecaster, the paper that you put out every week, is absolutely essential to plan for the future. And I really mean that, Bob. Thank you for being there for all these folks.
Well, thank you for saying so. But, I've come to the conclusion, and long ago, that these last 20 years of producing the International Forecaster have been a gift, not only to myself but others. And I can't explain how I can be right so often as a normal human being. And so I can only attribute my success to the Lord. There's no other way to explain it.
Of course. Inside wisdom from what you read in the Scriptures, of course, and the prophecies, but also what you see happening. And we got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to bring up Ted in a little bit, too, to join us, because you and Ted together are absolutely a wonderful team. But I'm going to ask you one question. The one in your forecaster, I read the most of today. I've got to ask you, Bob, this may be a stupid question, but why is the government of this nation going after Toyota? What's going on?
Well, I think, if you noticed in the past, there's been an awful lot of times that there's been recalls by other manufacturers. I think this time, General Motors is no longer GM, it's Government Motors, and I think they wanted to throw some sales to GM and maybe to Ford as well. And I think that's why they've made a big issue out of this problem. And they're coming up with other things about steering as well, and in addition to the brakes. And I think they want to break Toyota's back here in the United States and allow their favorite companies, and particularly General Motors, to survive so they can bring it public and get their money out of it. And I think that's the motivation behind this very powerful and well-coordinated attack on Toyota.
Well,
I don't happen to own a Toyota, so in fact, I own a Ford. So, I say this just in analysis. And so, but your question is very good, because with all these other things, I mean, all the other manufacturers never get attacked like this. So there's going to be more to it than that.
Well, I would assume that quite probably when Toyota is almost destroyed, they'll go after other ones like Honda, maybe Suzuki. Who knows? But it could happen. Obviously, it could happen. But I would think after a while people would see a pattern behind this. But let's get back to, I read quite a bit of your NS forecast today. Your NS forecaster is a lot of digestion, Bob. It takes a while to read that and let it soak in. You put out quotes and figures and numbers that are way above my head. But would you mind just going over briefly some of the figures you shared with the market and the worldwide, what's going on, and then we'll bring Ted up in a little bit.
Well, the only reason the market is down right now is because the government has allowed it to go down. And the reason they did that, because they manipulate all markets today, they did that because they have to be able to sell treasuries. And the treasury market is very large, and the bond market's 10 times larger than the stock market. So when the stock market goes down and professionals flee, they buy treasuries or agency securities. Agencies are the bonds of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, and FHA. They're AAA rated paper, at least at this time. Why they're that, I don't know, because the United States is bankrupt. But they're trying to scare money into the bonds so that they can continue to fund. Last year, 80% of the funding came from the Federal Reserve, which made money up out of thin air to do that. And when they do that, it's also very inflationary, and so that's coming down the pike.
Now, you said it's coming down
here shortly.
And how much let's say about June, July, mid-summer, what do you expect in way of inflation?
Well, I think we're looking at about 7.5% right now. And June and July, probably 10 to 11, and by the end of the year, probably 14.
Okay, so it's not a pretty picture.
No, Great Britain's done the same thing. Their figures come out today, official, mind you, 3.5%. Ours are 3%. When ours come out, they'll be 3.5%. What is 3.5% in the real world? 7.5%.
At least I would say yes, absolutely, because I see it every day at the store. It would take someone who never goes out of the house not to see the inflation rate taking place in everyday necessities, including food. It's happened. It really is. And now,
this morning I opened up a package of shredded wheat, and I had two packages. One I had for a while. It was an older one. Mm-hmm. It might be a year and a half or something like that old, and it was 1/3 bigger. I mean, what did they think was stupid?
Well,
I mean, that's a 30% increase in the cost of shredded wheat.
Yes. I guess they do think it's stupid because if they don't raise the price and make the packages smaller, most people don't really look that closely, at least not for a while, to see if the packages are actually smaller than they used to be. That's the way with everything else. Commodities, flour, sugar, the packages are shrinking because they want to keep the price somewhere near the same.
Well, any cereals or any things with sugar in it are going to go up even more because sugar's going higher.
Okay. So what do you see happening to what's left of the economic situation in this country as far as jobs and housing and all this?
I think between now and the election, we'll probably see a flattening out. No real gains, but the losses will probably end. You can't tell from the official figures because they lie about everything, but they'll start telling you in March, the February figures show that the recession is over. Of course, it's a depression, and that the figures on unemployment are going to get better, and they probably will between now and the election, because it's an election. Mm-hmm. And unemployment they say is 9.7%. Well, they'll knock it down to 8 3/4% or something. But it's not going to change the long-term unemployment that much, because even if they knock it down a point, where's it going to go from 21 3/4 to 20 3/4? Big deal.
Sure, that's not going to help a lot of people.
Piles of people out of work. I mean, I got them writing to me every day saying I can't resubscribe.
No money.
Because I just lost my job.
Yeah, I understand that. I get the same thing here at the ministry with donations, whatever. The same exact thing. By the hundreds, not by one or two, but lots of them. Before we bring up Ted Anderson here in a second, how about with this so-called bailout we had last year? It's supposed to create all these thousands and hundreds of thousands of jobs. What really happened with all the money? I know it didn't create that many jobs. Where did it go?